This week in Jamaica Now, bolted sports legend Usain Bolt reeling as millions of US dollars in an investment account gone missing in what's considered the largest theft in Jamaica's financial sector. Rosalee Gage Grey is still on the job as calls grow for her removal as head of Jamaica's Child Protection Agency. Caught, a 15-year-old girl who allegedly snatched a woman's 3-month-old baby has been arrested. And
Me start some more goal. Goal me have to smoke. Why?
fool's gold, dozens flock Hanover community after reports of a golden discovery. I'm Jovan Johnson and this is Jamaica Now. More than $1 billion Jamaican dollars is reportedly missing from accounts of dozens of high net worth clients at investment firm Stocks and Securities Limited in St. Andrew. At least one former employee is alleged to have orchestrated what is considered to be one of the largest acts of frauds in Jamaica's financial sector. Among the clients is sprinting legend Usain Bolt. His manager Nugent Walker says the former athlete learned of the issue on Wednesday. The implicated wealth advisor reportedly contacted Mr. Bolt's management on Wednesday after the company's internal mechanisms uncovered significant irregularities with several accounts she managed. Mr. Bolt's portfolio, which is linked to a holding company, has reportedly been defrauded of approximately $6 million in stocks and bonds, while more than 20 other clients have lost approximately $4 million and counting. An additional 40 million Jamaican dollars in stocks and bonds were also allegedly misappropriated. The alleged fraud was reportedly being perpetrated for at least a year. The ex-employee's attorney, Tamika Harris, has declined to comment, noting that her client has not been charged. Meanwhile, regulators, the Financial Services Commission, has intervened, telling SSL that while it can still do business for its clients, the state entity has to give final approvals. Up to Friday, head of Jamaica's Child Protection and Family Services Agency, CPFSA, Rosalee Gage Grey, was still on the job, despite growing calls for her to step aside over a scandal involving an American donor. The state agency is responsible for children in the care of the state. Children's advocate Diane Gordon-Harrison released an explosive report that accused the senior administrator of gross breach of care and called for her to be sanctioned over a partnership with Carl Rabansky. Mr. Rabansky is an American man whose U.S. teaching license was suspended in 2016 for sexually inappropriate behavior with a minor. According to the Children's Advocate report, Mrs. Gage Grey knew of the man's past from at least 2018 but did not try to sever relations until 2021 when Nationwide News Network reported on the matter. The Children's Advocate revealed instances in which Mr. Rabansky allegedly sexually abused several of the Jamaican girls who were staying at the father's house, which his charity worked with. Education Minister Favour Williams was not happy when she addressed Parliament on Tuesday.
This is a damning report, Madam Speaker. I am enraged when I consider that here in the report, the explicit directives were given. There was constant follow-up. Madam Speaker, the situation is untenable. It cannot be defended. At the same time, I acknowledge that there has to be due process. There are two offices, that of the Permanent Secretary and that of the Public Services Commission, that are the constituted authority to assess these matters and make the right decision. When the report came to me from the OCA, I met with and requested of the Permanent Secretary that she writes to the Public Service Commission, as I was advised that such a letter can only come from the Permanent Secretary to the Public Service Commission, the constituted administrative offices. Such a letter has been written. I received a copy today. I've also asked of the Permanent Secretary that she use her administrative powers within the ambit of the law. I've also forwarded the OCA's report to the police for further investigation to see whether charges can be laid against anyone who is found to have abused or facilitated the abuse of children. It is not in the best interest of our children in state care, for the CEO of the CPFSA to remain as head of agency while further investigation takes place. And so I call on her to step aside at least while the Public Service Commission completes its deliberations. We have to send a clear signal of zero tolerance for the care of children.
Rights group Jamaicans for Justice and the People's National Party Youth Organization have also called for Mrs. Gage Grey to be at least suspended from the job. The government's Mines and Geology Division has confirmed that a mineral discovered last weekend in Chester Castle, Hanover, was pyrite, which is also known as fool's gold. That mineral is weak and has little economic value. Scores of persons descended on the community following the now false belief that gold was found by persons digging a pit.
People, only think I joke, only think I joke. Hold on there, only think I joke, people. Only think I joke. See there, see beauty there, see quality there. Everything mixed up in a one. Gold, platinum, diamond, everything mixed up in one. Come people, come and join us. Gold over here. Gold there, sir. Who said gold? Gold in there.
The property owners lamented that their land was ravaged by the dozens of persons who flocked to the area. The Mines Division says it will investigate the discovery and provide technical and economic recommendations towards its development. The police are investigating the circumstances under which a 15-year-old girl allegedly abducted a 3-month-old baby from his home on Tuesday in Horizon Park, Spanish Town, St. Catherine. The suspect reportedly befriended the child's mother, an 18-year-old woman, on the social media platform TikTok 4 weeks ago. The suspected abductor was held some 114 miles away on Wednesday afternoon in Cambridge, St. James. The child was in state care up to Thursday, undergoing a series of medical examination. The St. James police have labelled the suspect as a troubled teen who frequently runs away from her own home and ended up in the parish of St. Catherine, where she was living at one point. 40-year-old Tamika Peart and her 18-year-old son, Jelana Wright, were killed in a car crash on the Mandela Highway in St. Catherine on Monday. A second son who was in the car is nursing injuries. The police say the woman lost control of her BMW motorcar while heading to Portmore with her children. The start of a corruption trial involving former Education Minister Ruel Reid and former Caribbean Maritime University President Fritz Pinnock has been pushed back to April 3. The trial is to take place in the Kingston and St. Andrew Parish Court. But before that, the Supreme Court will review on February 6 and 7 a court ruling that Mr. Reid and his 4 co-accused have a case to answer. Mr. Reid applied for the judicial review after the judge who gave the ruling last year, Chester Crooks, recused himself from the trial because of a perceived conflict of interest. He attended Monroe College while Mr. Reid was head boy at the high school. Mr. Reid, his wife Sharon, their daughter Cheryl, Mr. Pinnock and Jamaica Labour Party councillor Kim Brown Lawrence are charged over the alleged diversion of $50 million from the Caribbean Maritime University for their personal use. Lobby group Jamaica Accountability Meter Portal says that the National Compliance and Regulatory Authority NCRA needs to say whether it granted a special favour when it released substandard rice imported by a company owned by Health Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton. Last December, the Sunday Gleaner revealed that the agency's head, Larice Edwards-Brown, authorised the release of detained shipments of rice on July 20, the same day adverse test results were returned. Dr. Tufton is the sole shareholder in the company Blue Zone Limited. His son Charles is the managing director and one of 3 directors. Mrs. Edwards-Brown has not answered questions on why she released the shipment given the unfavourable test results and without her agency's investigative processes being triggered. The Auburn Hill-led industry ministry under which the NCRA falls has not answered questions on whether the actions of the NCRA head were acceptable. And that's it for this edition of Jamaica Now, your weekly review of the big news stories. Send us your comments at onlinefeedback@gleanerjm.com. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Jamaica Gleaner and on Facebook at Gleaner Jamaica. Like this video on our YouTube page, turn on a notification and subscribe today. I'm Jovan Johnson, and before we go, 6 years ago, Rashawn Carrot Yours did a rendition of Jermaine Edwards' It's a Beautiful Day. We now hear Rashawn's story.
How do you feel about the impact that your voice has had on so many people? Feel so happy about myself, miss. Remember the last video that I sing and get a laptop. And yesterday I was watching it back, miss, and you see. I never remember that part when I say I want to become a singer. Then I see it yesterday and I laugh.
What age you started singing?
From I was 4 years old.
When you saw the video, the Criff from South Africa, was it that he made contact with you and asked you to do this remix? Did he tell you he was gonna do the remix?
No, miss. After he finished the remix and we heard it on TikTok, like my sister comment and say he's my younger brother.
Many people have said that listening to your voice on It's a Beautiful Day, it's like a prayer for them. It warms their hearts. It has had so much of an impact on how they carry themselves throughout the day. Are you aware of this?
No, miss.
Have you read the comments?
Yes, miss, but most people just say it is a gift from God.
And what do you think it is?
I believe that too.